Let's see at the calendar.
So the leaves that are mentioned here are IIT Madras leaves. So October 2nd and 20, November 5. Pongal not holiday. Oh, 14 Jan, Pongal.
Only one day for Pongal.
Only
One day for Durga Puja.
Usually Vijayadashami, do you have holidays in Vijayadashami?
Only on Dussehra.
Oh, Gandhi Jayanti is overlapping with that.
Gandhi Jayanti and Vijayadashami.
So one leave you have got lost. You lost one leave.
Oh yes, same day. So one like
Welcome. We're almost there. Or we wait for a while. Yes. Not sure. Welcome.
Shall we begin with the fourth chapter directly or will you give some study with
If you permit me, there are some interesting things.
okay, the
Huh?
fourth chapter.
I will quickly do that, and then within half an hour I will move to the fourth. In half. Reason. Yeah.
If you do a quick rewind, then we'll go to it.
Actually, not rewind. It's few shlokas I have not done at all. In third, I will mention them, and then we'll go to fourth. Welcome. Understand? All of you, as much as possible, sit cross-legged. It must be cold below. Take deep breaths and feel relaxed. Allow the thoughts to flow away and don't pursue it. Imagine a calm lake in front of you. The gentle ripples are the thoughts that arise in your mind. Let them flow away and don't pursue. Imagine a lotus in the middle of the lake. On that is seated your dear Ishta. Fix your attention on the Ishta and be with steady breath. The Ishta Devata is full of light, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. You are drawn by the compassion of the Ishta Devata. He is the very embodiment of purity, very embodiment of knowledge, the very embodiment of bliss. May the Ishta Devata move towards you and occupy the lotus of your heart. Fix your attention on the lighted being, full of knowledge and bliss and compassion, that drives away all weaknesses, all ignorance, all darkness. Salute the Ishta Devata, fixing your attention on the lotus feet. The Ishta blesses you by touching your forehead, transferring all his light, all his purity, and all his knowledge and bliss. You are one with your Ishta in purity, in knowledge and bliss. No sin attaches you, no weakness dares to come towards you, no death can control you. You are one with your Ishta Devata. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Can switch on lights, huh? Light. While the flyer says that we have to begin the chapter 4, I realized that a few shlokas in the end of the third chapter are yet to be touched upon even. Discussion is a distant. We looked at the implication of the shloka 17, which is Yastvatma Ratireva Syat Atma Triptascha Manavaha Atmanyeva Santushtaha Tasya Karyam Na Vidyate. 17th verse, it's a very beautiful verse. It says that a person who has attained the Naishkarmya Siddhi, he takes delight only in the Atman, he is fully satisfied with the Atman, and he is contented with the Atman. Now, such a person, there is no duty or a responsibility that is imposed upon him. He may take it upon him, but that is never imposed upon him. The person is literally out of this, what you call as the relative system. He will not be governed by so-called laws. But for what is the reason? Then Krishna substantiates saying that Naivatasya Kritenatha, the very next shloka, beautiful shloka, he says that the duties are meant to achieve some ends, fulfilling a purpose, and he has no purposes to achieve. Because he has attained the ultimate purpose, Nishkarmya Siddhi. Nishkarmya Siddhi is the highest, which the Shastras put forth. The state of being not under the compulsion of any duty or responsibilities. But that doesn't mean vagabondish, because it's a very higher state of awakening. As they say, extremes look alike. So a vagabondish attitude and so-called the person with Nishkarmya Siddhi also they may tally superficially, but internally there is a sea of difference. Basically, the end of the gamuts. Both actually occupy the end of the gamuts. Naivatasya kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana nachasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashraya. He has nothing to acquire, nothing to protect. That's a beautiful term. This particular verse, we find it echoing in Gita and appearing again in the Upanishad, the text, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where Yajnavalkya says that Krita Krite Natapataha. That again comes in Taittiriya Upanishad also. Krita Krite Natapataha means for the actions that were done, good actions that were done in the past or bad actions committed in the past. Both of things does not hurt him at all, because he has now bailed himself out of all the karmic obligations by the sheer dint of not falsely taking upon himself some identity, but by true realization. So, and the 19th verse is very interesting. Krishna begins with the verse with the word tasmat. Tasmat, so therefore, asaktaha satatam. So be unattached at all times and then engage in action. So a person who has attained perfection, the way he would be unattached with the world, we must inherit that particular mental mode, but be engaged in action, because that being unattached is the main sutra for us to even reach the state of Naishkarmi Siddhi. Being unattached is the first and foremost of character quality, mental modes. But interestingly, Sri Krishna begins with the word tasmat. Tasmat actually means therefore. There is an unwritten rule rather, hint to pick out what is it that I need to do. You read 700 chapters, 700 verses in the Gita, and at the end of maybe 1 month of 1 year of study, you ask yourself this question: what am I supposed to do? Quickly, can you give me a 10-point reckoning as of what I need to do? You don't need to go and ask anyone. I may be transferred also, not available by email or WhatsApp. Because of your familiarity, you would like to reach out to me, but even if I'm not there, just take out the book and look for the word tasmat. Look for the word where Krishna says tasmat. And whatever he says next, blindly follow it. Because that is a conclusion. Tasmat means therefore. When do you use the word therefore? It typically comes as a conclusion, right? For a particular line of argument and discussion. And Sri Krishna, now and then he uses this word tasmat. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu bhamanusmara yudhyacha comes in the 8th chapter. So on and so forth. I'm not going to tell you all the references. It's your exercise. So look at for tasmat, and then whatever that is given subsequently, just blindly follow it. You don't need to sweat out as of trying to find the relevance of it. Because you have already read 700 verses of Gita. You are competent with the meaning, the content, the philosophy. But now you are edging for doing something in line with the prescription of the Gita, the text, as well as Sri Krishna's opinion. So the quickest way to arrive at is look for tasmat. So one tasmat is appearing here. Tasmat satatam asaktaha satatam karyam karma samachara. Therefore, asaktaha being unattached, engage in action at all times. By that, you attain the highest reward. And here it takes reference to the king Janaka, who has achieved perfection, even being the king of the nation. Who else can be more responsible than the king of the nation? Correct? So he dispatching the highest order of service, duty and responsibility, he was able to attain so-called Naishkarmi Siddhi only by the singular mental mode of being unattached. In fact, in the Mahabharata, there is an occasion where the Janaka's palace somehow catches fire, and all the people they were all running about here and there, howling and hailing, and then being very disturbed. And then, but when the minister comes and reports to Janaka, "Sir, your palace is on fire," he was absolutely unperturbed. And he says, "Sir, your palace is on fire." That didn't make any change in his mind. He said, "You see, there are firefighting forces. They will do the action. It is their job to do the action. Why should I fret and fume over it?" See, it's not easy to stay like that. It's not easy to stay like that. And that can come only when a person is having a matured wisdom. So the famous statement that we often quote is that Dagdayam Mithilayam. Mithila is, what about this palace? Even if the entire Mithila goes in fire also, Name Dahyati Kaschana. There is nothing burning within me. See, that is passion. The other day we were referring to, right, is actually a burning factor. That's the reason why passion never does good. Passion burns your enthusiasm, burns your real urge and hunger for growth, because you're consuming the joy of the future in the form of passion. What we actually require is enthusiasm, utsaha. But we often become very passionate, overgrowing the need for utsaha, and then we become, then that causes a lot of, it entails a lot of other weaknesses. So it is the passion which is burning within us. Because he has controlled passion out and out, he says, nothing burns within me. And he says, there are people to take care, you don't worry. You are here to give me advice, you have given me the news, understand. The fire will be seen by everyone, and the forces are ready for it. So, Nitilayam Nidhayam Name Dahyati Kaschana. It's very, very popular. Oftentimes, these pithy utterances gives us a lot of strength. Saying that, I mean, if a king of that order is able to maintain poise, what is it in my own little life? It can be easily overcome. Name Partha. And then Krishna takes a self-reference. What about Janaka? Name Parthasti Kartavyam Trishu Lokesha. See, in my case, I have no obligations forever in all the three lokas. You are at least in the earth. I have dominion over the other two. Nothing binds me. Because there is nothing which I need to seek, there is nothing which I am afraid of losing also. But saying so, if I abstain from action, suppose I have people ask this question, suppose I give you 10 crore rupees. Such an offer was made to me when I was doing my 11th standard, saying that, what if you have 10 lakhs of rupees? That time lakhs were big. So now even 10 crores is nothing. So somebody gives you, what will you do? Immediately we let go all our suppressed feelings, and then say, I will do this, do this, do this, do that. All the dreams you will try to materialize and fulfill. So the kind of comfort we enjoy, we translate it into further yearnings, further desiring, and further fulfillment. We never stay content. So when something, because the reason is very simple. In fact, that's the locus of our strength. The very urge within us which make us earn and hunger for something more than what we have is the very indication that we are beings who are continuously growing to fill the void. The void is created by the misdirected identity of who I am. Since we do not know who I am, who we are, we try to find an identity and fill it with a lot of external substances. So how much ever you fill, there is still some space for us to grow, identify, and explore. So this unquenching thirst is there within us, propelling us to grow. So he says, but if such a thirst is not there, then will you stop growing? Will you stop acting? Will you stop being functioning? He says, no. No, since I am now a Shreshta Purusha, because I have achieved the highest goal, supreme goal, now people will take me as an example. So if I don't work, so is that a responsibility upon him? That you feel responsible, that you are a leader, and then you will have to conduct in a manner that others will be able to follow you. Is that not another kind of responsibility that is put upon you? It does not, because that idea, to a lesser being, it appears as responsibility, but for a greater being, it appears as compassion. He says that he will never want destruction around. He wants always growth. He wants fulfillment. Such a person will want a smoker would like to have another smoker company, right? So likewise, a person who has realized the soul, realized the supreme reality, he would want to have company with, to put in a more simpler language, that he would like to have company with another person who has realized the soul. So he would want the entire place to be peopled with supremely knowledgeable souls. So for that, what he would do is he would be a true leader, leading them, helping them in whatever way possible. So he says, Name Parthas, even though he says nothing attains me, he says that if I don't work, then this entire world will come to destruction, because they will see that this man who has everything is not working. Then why should I work? Well, I will be working and toiling hard to acquire that, and after that I have to stop working. Just as the way this guy is, lazying around. So rather, I shall lazy from being I shall be lazy right from now itself. There's nothing great that I am going to do after attaining something. So that will be a very wrong example. So that's the reason why they say, if you want to tackle poverty, you will have to do a bottom-up renovation. But if you want to instill discipline, if you want to perpetuate good mannerliness and good character, you will have to work top-down. If you want to, that means, for example, if you want to end corruption, corruption is disciplined life. Ending corruption is disciplined life, right? If you want to set in that discipline and character, you will have to do it top-down. Bottom-up is not going to help. So now, when you want to set orderliness in the society, the leader has to be orderly. It's compulsory, it's mandatory. But he does not do it with a sense of responsibility. He does it with a sense of compassion and love and many other godly qualities. So, Krishna says that if you remain attached, some people may ask that if I remain attached, can I be engaged in the action with, guts of feeling, with all attention and all eagerness and all enthusiasm? How can I do it? Krishna says, yes, you should do it, and you should be able to do it. Just as the way a man who is attached to the ephemerals, who doesn't know the reality, who has not read Gita or attended Dhanagamanda's lecture, who gets distracted by all the vagaries of so-called lower offerings, lesser offerings. Now, such a person, how much will he be attached with the things that are near and dear to him? With that much strength, you should work unattached. You means the person who is reading the Gita. He must, and when he says, see, all this are coming after Tasmat. So that means these are something which are practical. He says that you should bring in that much amount of sincerity in purpose and one-pointed in your application. Subsequently, he says, while you are doing this, quite often, where the man commits an error, he always tries to find a difference between one and the other. When he tries to find the difference between one and the other, he wants to pitch himself a little higher than the other. Correct? See, that's when this often is called as a holier than thou attitude. This unfortunately comes. You start doing a little amount of some good practices and you gain some strength, conviction, and also some benefit out of it. We feel that we are better than others. For an untrained and immature mind, this becomes a kind of a retarding factor. So then oftentimes you see this guy goes and starts advising others that this is not the right way to do. He would have done a little bit of charity here and there, and he will go and proclaim charity to the whole world and trying to disturb. He says, "Na buddhi bhedam janayeta jnana karma sangina." But then you be engaged in action, but don't go and disturb others. Each one will have their own time. They will grow in their own. So you may find somebody lacking, but that doesn't mean that you have to go and start giving your gyan. Prakriti kriyamanani. So oftentimes, we have to have different perspectives to engage ourselves in the work of detachment, in the character quality of detachment. So he says one of the good qualities that the function, the Prakriti is actually doing it, you are not doing it. That's one particular aspect. That is 26, 27. 26, 27, 26, 27, 28, 29. All these four shlokas, they talk about dissociating yourself from the nature. In the sense, you're not dissociating physically, you're dissociating mentally, saying that, see, I may be working with the nature, but I cannot identify myself with the nature. In the sense that I'm not the eyes, I'm not the ears, I'm not the hands, I'm not the organs, I'm not the forces that are functioning, but I'm superior to that. So this is a higher reckoning. But then how things happen? If you're not any of these things, you may say that, see, I have to open my eyes to see the world. Who else can do that? I will have to do that, right? So there is a constant reference to this I in all the ephemeral activity we engage in. Agreed. That is required for what is called as the marketplace business. But when it comes to your own contemplative life, trying to really find out the philosophy of all this ephemerality, then that's when we have to be brutally true with us. At that time, we cannot say that, see, there is something which is impinging in me, forcing me to open the eyelid. It's not that the eyelid is seeing, but I am opening. So there is a force that opens the eyelid. So eyelids and eye and all the other organs are different from me, because there is an urge which we can identify within me that is acting upon all these external things. So is it I am the organs or I am the urge itself? But urge itself is coming after desires. Is it I am the desire? The desire itself is seated in your heart. I am the heart itself is composed of. So you do what is called as you resolve back to the origin. From what is called as the manifested, you resolve back to the so-called the lesser and lesser of manifestation. This kind of a contemplative analysis tells you that you are far from this Prakriti. Prakriti with its forces are happy doing things by itself without your help. Whether I close my eyes or not, the Newton's observation of gravitational pull is going to happen. So why can't we generalize this particular interplay of forces at all levels? At some point in some manner, but even that will go away. Technically speaking, that facilitation happens by a mere presence, not by acting upon, by a mere presence. That will lead us to a different kind of a perspective. That's okay. But one thing which we need to remember here is that let us not. But then you may say that there are a lot of evil forces within us. There are a lot of good forces within us. Don't you think that we may be falsely identifying with either of these two, and then the identity will further lead us to corresponding actions. See, if you consider yourself evil, and then you are established in the evil, you will continue to do the evil actions. So Krishna says, you see, once having known, for the contemplative guy, you have known that there are forces within you. These forces, don't think that they are easy to be controlled. First and foremost, they are the forces which are working within your so-called body-mind-intellect complex over several manifestations. Krishna is of the opinion that we have lived several lives in the past. Okay, so these are not that you can, it's not a child's play. Let us give due respect to the momentum that these forces have already acquired. They are going to drive you in one manner. It's just that you cannot face it head on and then try to reverse the course of the river. Try to reverse the course of the river back to its origin. That cannot be done. It has to be done eventually, but not head on. Sadrisham cheshtite swasya prakritehe jnanavanati. Krishna takes reference to even those people who are very knowledgeable. He says that even they are propelled by the forces that are already there acting within them. So when a thought comes to you that you need to take a good cone ice or Ibago ice cream, and then you feel then the thirst. The more you think about it, the more you become thirsty for it. Justified. We need those pleasures of life. So, but then that will take you to the shop. It will take you to the shop, and then you say, "Hey, tomorrow exam is there." But nevertheless, half an hour I'll just go have and then come, and then subsequently I'll continue doing it. So it makes you work for that. Nothing wrong in it. What Krishna wants to say here is, you thought about Ibago, you thought about certain things, and then got attracted to it, right? Don't blame the time lost subsequently. Don't blame any other extra things that made you lose certain good things during that period of time. It was your own decision to entertain that mindset. It was your own decision to engage in fulfilling the desire, and it is your own fate or kind of if you are going to suffer subsequently. So what is the best way out of it? The best way out of it is when the thought of having some kind of an enjoyment comes to the mind, then you may have to, we being a rational person, we may have to evaluate the relevance of that particular indulgence, whether this is the right time to do it. Quite often they are misplaced. Quite often they are misplaced. I'll see about 75% of the time the thoughts that are coming to you are only distracting you from the main goal of life. 75%. Because that is the very nature of the mind. Sankalpa vikalpatmika. It's a very nature, it's only the buddhi which is nisyatmika. So by the very constitution of of the human being, 75% is an understatement actually. So quite often the mind is, what happens, the mind gives on several suggestions. The moment we listen to it, we get consumed by it. We get either directed or misdirected. Either way. But it is up to the buddhi and the wisdom that we have acquired. It is up to that to decide whether it is appropriate. So now Krishna says here that if somebody who is continuously under the flux of these misdirected notions of the mind, the best way for him is to withdraw himself from thinking of those ice cream ideas. Saying that, see, it is the indriya, it is not me, it is particular faculty in my mind that is having a skewed attraction to one particular object. There are several skewed forces within us, and each one of them, if you give the reins to act, oftentimes you come to a stalemate. You don't do anything productively. So Krishna here says, Indriyasya indriyasyarte ragadvesho vyavastito. You see, the thought of Krishna, the thought of ice cream was the one which pulled me to that, right? So the faculty within me which wants to enjoy the ice cream, namely the texture, the sweet, the fragrance, and the kind of josh we get by after heating it, all of these things, that is the indriya functioning, the organs functioning. And the ice cream is the indriyartha, the object. Now there is an interaction between these two. There is a strong force acting between these two. And that is causing a total chaos within your whole constitution. Is that the only force that is working within your body? But that is now ruling you. A single force is ruling you now. There are infinite forces which are acting within us. But at that particular time, a particular faculty, indriya, attached to a particular object, all in singular. All in singular. And this binding is now governing your entire being. I mean, is there any fairness in it? Absolutely unfair. Absolutely unfair. I mean, we have become, this is precisely what is called as this, that it is making us a slave. A slave, who is a slave? A slave is a person whose infinite potential is made hidden and made to execute only one labor. Hey, jaudu do, we tell a person. He says, I will give some time, I will sweep later. If he says if he sweeps later, then he is not a slave. Because he has other forces now acting in him. But the moment you say, and he is listening to every little action of you, then that means he is a slave to you. He's a slave. So that means what? That particular object of ice cream is now dictating upon my forces. My entire being gets concentratedly one-pointed, and it furthers channelizes all the energies to the single manner, and then reaches the object or desired object. After having attained the desired object, is it happy? Is it contented? Is it fully satisfied? No. Mind recoils again from that. But there is another thing that drags you. So these are the skewed attractions. So Krishna only asks us to be aware that such is the interplay of the forces. It is only between the organ and the object. Don't confuse that with you. At every point in time, it is only one particular faculty getting a skewed attraction to one particular object. But they are in various directions. And what the man does is he fulfills them in an iterative fashion, and he ends up in that cycle. He continuously keeps doing only that. Day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. He keeps on attending to the call of the mind. So there's nothing wrong in it. Because we are deriving some joy, some pleasure, some meaning. Some people say, no, that gives us a meaning for our life. Okay, fine, not an issue at all. Only make this reckoning within your own self that it is this fellow interacting with that fellow, not me. Indriyasya indriyasyarthe ragadesho tayoho na vashamagacche. Vasham means what? Identification. Actually, identification is the first part. Subsequently, you will have control over it. Once you know who your enemies are, it is 50% battle won. I don't want to increase the figure. I will say 80%. But 50% is fair enough for me. So you know the enemy. So the enemy is now acting in this manner. Faculty and the respective object. These guys are having some private contract. And getting into that private contract, I have lost my freedom. I means the complement of this singularity. The complement of the singularity is my entire being. As if now you go to the shop, we take the jewels, and then the lady of the house is so kind enough to support the venture of the husband. So she says, okay, you take my jewels and then pawn it. He takes the jewels of worth maybe 1 crore. He puts it, how much does he get? 10 lakhs? 15 lakhs or something like that? So that he will be able to give it back and then he pawns it. He's not selling it, he's pawning it. So likewise, my entire infinite potential body, mind, intellect complex is pawned for one particular one particular transaction. The entire being is pawned for it. Nothing wrong in it. It just requires our knowledge that this is how we are actually functioning. Now, knowing that we are functioning this way, what best and how best we can do it. So naturally, if we can save ourselves, our energies from pawning to lesser things, let us do the pawning, but let us do the pawning for greater things, better things, better objectives. It may differ for each one of us. So once we do that, naturally the returns will be better. So when we say concentrate, we need some inputs for concentration. This is one of the inputs for concentration. That every idea that crosses through your mind does not require an attention. You don't keep swatting every mosquito that is flying in the room. The one which bites you, you swat it, right? So that is sufficient for us. And he says that while doing this, be watchful that there are many attractive things around. There are many people doing great things, but the thing that is given to you, that which belongs to you, for which you are responsible, that is supreme. This is where the dignity of labor comes into picture. Shreyan swadharmo viguna paradharmas manishtita. It comes in Shloka 35. Dignity of labor. What you are doing is nothing like big or small. Somebody is doing some big work. Well, should I have to imitate him, copy him? Not necessary. Whatever you are, each is great in his own place, in the karmic perspective. So do that in the most becoming manner, not in the unbecoming manner, and you will get the best. And then there's a beautiful conversation now between Arjuna and Sri Krishna. If this be the case, this question comes in 36. He says, what is the cause of human beings committing sin? It's because he was talking of the jnanis are also caught by the forces within. He says that out of direct evidence, like Yudhishthira is a jnani. He's a person who had the complete comprehension of dharma. That's why he was also called Dharmaraja. He had a full but he committed a lot of errors. He also committed a lot of errors. He says, and that error because a man in the process of becoming, he is having some that vigunas. Vigunas means some shortcomings. The shortcomings, when they surface out, they appear as errors. One can transcend it. Doesn't matter. So there are still stark evidences for that. For that reason, Sri Krishna said, Jnanavan api, Dharmavan api, Vivekavan api, Vairagyavan api. You can put all those qualities. In all of them, you will find some shortcomings. He says, but because of the shortcoming, only guys are doing. But how is this shortcoming at all seeded into the human consciousness? That's Arjuna's question in 36. And then Sri Krishna says, see, it is because of the lust and anger. Kama, Krodha. These two, they are Maha Ashanaha. Ashanaha means they are very hungry. Insatiable. Insatiable means in the sense of Ashana actually means hunger. That's the right word to say. Insatiable is one thing. Maha Ashanaha means that hunger which cannot be satiated at all. What is this? Kama and Krodha. When you are angry, we lose decorum, we lose the modicum, we lose etiquette, we lose control on language, our palpitation increases, we become weak, we lose discrimination. What else is called a destruction, by the way? What else can be called as a destruction? Huh? This momentary insanity, that is the reason why, a guy who can control anger, I think 90% of the problem solved. 90% of the problem. Really, I have to, if only I could see someone. I got an opportunity to see one such guy. One among us. See, there are some really great people I have seen. I'm not taking references to them. But one among us, kind of a person who has controlled anger in his own little way. Because this is something, which you can proactively work on. See, Kama, at least, desires, as we call it, there is an incentive in it. There is a small incentive. At least you have a little pleasure in entertaining some objects of desire. But Krodha, there is nothing we gain from it. We lose everything. We lose the interest as well as the principle. Now, this enemy, I think it is worthwhile to pay a little attention and see how we can gain mastery over this. Krodha. That will give us a lot of hint as of where we are, where our strengths are getting hidden, getting locked up. The moment we tap the Krodha potential, because they are actually called as Avyakta Shakti. Avyakta Shakti, which is not yet manifested. So in the Avyakta form, it will be very forceful. Very forceful, anytime ready to burst out. And it requires only a small reason, a crevice. Through that, it will express. That's why, it causes huge destruction. Even through a small crevice, it comes out explosively. And after it is a kind of a very, very mundane experience to all of us. We all have been angry at various points in time. After being angry, have we justified it? We have all regretted it. But yet we keep doing it. That is what is called insatiable hunger. You can never come to a point when you say, this is the last time I will be angry. I will put all my anger into it and henceforth I will not be angry. You can never come to that state at all. So, Mahashana, and that is the one which is making us commit a lot of sins. Mahapapma. And Vidya, Krishna says, Iha Vairanam Iha Vidya. That these are your two sworn enemies. They are not going to come your way. They are only going to distract you, divert you, and detract you. So, Vidya Namiha Vairanam. They are enemies. And what does these two enemies do? That is, if there is they all exist within us. Just as you have fire will have smoke around, right? So fire will have smoke, and the For a pregnant mother carrying a child, that vulva, the uterus is covering the child. So the uterus covering the child and the smoke covering the, because the child here is symbol of knowledge. Actually, child in the womb, Kapilopadesha talks about the child in the womb, the life of the child in the womb. He says that it is a realized soul there. And the moment it comes out, it breathes in one vayu called Shatvayu, and then Maya enters into it and it forgets all the knowledge when it was in the womb of the mother. So that's the reason why Sri Krishna takes the reference of the Yatha ulbena avritaha garbha. Ulbena, the uterus is covering the garbha. Why he is taking the reference? Because child is symbolic, child in the fetus, that is a symbol of knowledge. No sin will be there, no weaknesses are there, only body weakness, that's a different thing. But full knowledge is there, according to Kapilopadesha. And that is covered by uterus. Uterus is not allowing the Maya to enter. But the uterus is the covering, cutting which when it comes out, it gets into the embrace of Maya. So likewise, our knowledge is also covered by ignorance. What are the ignorance? Kama Krodha. Kama Krodha. We have to connect this verse with the previous verse. So he says, so if the Indriyas are the things which are running behind these objects, then the first thing that we need to do is control the propensity of these Indriyas driving you here and there. So that control, if we can exercise, small way to begin with, and then we gain momentum and we'll gain mastery over it. See, there is, last year also I was doing a caricature of somebody who will enjoy Rasagulla saying, wonderful. So you can take, but why do you need to exult so much to express that? He says that no, that is life. That's how you have to show your the joy that you are having. Well, true, it is joyful, but some calamity happens. You will be exulting in negative manner. So we always have to safeguard ourselves from the worst reaching us. So how can we do that? Only when we have a control when the best is reaching us. It is the same control we will exercise when the worst is reaching us. So it's a preparation. When the best comes to us, we remain safeguarded, we remain firm grounded, and that gives every such moment you control your what you call as the baser instincts. Baser instinct in the sense, the moment you put Rasagulla, you feel like shouting, it's fantastic. That's a baser instinct. Nothing wrong about it, but it weakens you in another footing. So the moment you control that, you become strong. Krishna says you become immensely strong. Your mind gets fortified. And then that leads to maturity, that leads to knowledge, that leads to, there is a word in Sanskrit, it is called Shama Sukha. Shama means control. Control of your mind. Okay, Shama. Shanti comes from the word Shama. So the Shama, when you exercise that control, first time you will feel, hey, why am I doing this artificially? They will say, pour your heart out. Well, choice is yours. But the moment we know what to pour out, and then keep a check on those wasted energies, initially it may be kind of, you're under tension, but slowly you will find you're enjoying that. Every time you exercise control on extravagant application of energy, you feel stronger. That is obvious because the energy is not spent, first thing. That's your own energy to begin with. And on top of that, on top of all the physical energies saved, there is a learning in the mind, discrimination, and that gives you what is called Shama Sukha. And that you carry on an incremental fashion, and that becomes your true property. You may not possess physical energy, But this Shama Sukha will give you a lot of mental energy. That is the reason why, in the olden days, even now, these days people do. Orthodox people, you will see physically they are not very strong. They will be undergoing a lot of austerities in their lives. Lot of austerities. If the Mike Tyson goes and gives one punch in his nose, the entire physique will collapse. See, physically they are not very strong, but mentally they are very strong. They are able to steer through the vagaries of life in a very, very stable manner. There is a lot of gravity around their personality. The orthodoxy brings all that greatness and goodness. And because of the orthodoxy, because of the austerity, it is not that because austerity oftentimes what happens, it creates hatred for others. Some kind of hatred comes for others. Austerity brings in that. But a person who is educated in the way of Gita and performs austerity, he gets this Shamasukha. And out of that comes compassion, love, and fellow feeling. But he may be internally suffering, but he will have fellow feeling with others. What a wonderful, all this Shamasukha is able to give you. See, I may be, for instance, today I may not be eating anything. I'm just saying, I did have my breakfast and come here, but I'm just saying, suppose I don't eat anything today. But then somebody comes and takes the life out of me by asking a lot of questions, making me do work. But this fellow says, hey, do you know, you are a hopeless guy. I'm fasting today. Why are you exacting so much work from me? We become more verbose, even abusive. When somebody is taking undue advantage, when you are at your vulnerable point. My vulnerability currently is because of the physical limitations. And somebody is making use of it. Now, what do you say? You are getting work done through me. My work itself, I am doing less. Because I am following austerity, I am doing less work so that I will do tomorrow. And now you are extracting work from me for your sake. Chala, get out. So that selfishness will not be there if he is trained in the Gita way. But he will be performing the austerity, he will be having all the orthodoxy. But if somebody comes, the Atiti comes, Devo Bhava. Atiti Devo Bhava means you need to worship him. Then how do you worship him? Not by the way you want, by the way he wants. So if he comes and asks, say, hey, can you help me in lifting this thing? Yeah, as much as my energy permits. Because Atiti Devo Bhava. So he's been trained the right way. It's a wonderful learning. The Shamasukha gives him all that confidence. And then Krishna says, which is a reflection and a re-echoing of the verse from the Kathopanishad, Indriyani Paranyahu, Indriyebhyah Paramana, Manasastu Parabudhyo Buddhe Paratastu. What is the incentive now? The incentive for making all this control is lying in this particular hierarchy of forces. He says that the Indriya means the organs, sense organs, they are really strong. They are forceful. Agreed, no doubt about it. But more forceful are the objects of enjoyment. See, Indriya belongs to your own, conscious being. An ice cream in Ibago is an object lying elsewhere, lifeless. How can that be superior to your mind? It's seen in a lesser manner, but that is pulling your mind, right? If that is able to pull, that means that is stronger. That is a very common understanding, but there is another philosophical understanding here, where Indriyebhyah Parahyartha, Artha word is used not in this shloka but in Kathopanishad. That Artha here actually means the Tanmatras, the 5 elements out of which all these objects are made. Sattva, the Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha, Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha, all these 5 elements, 5 natural elements in their subtle form, they are called Tanmatras. Those Tanmatras are responsible for producing the Ibago ice cream as well as the faculty of enjoyment within me. That is responsible for both. That is the reason why these two guys are, there must be some commonality for attraction. The sand and water will not mix, while water and milk will mix. Why? Because there is some commonality between these two, that's why they are able to mix. So how is it that Ibago ice cream is pulling my mind? Because the genesis of the Ibago ice cream as well as my own mind are same, which is this 5 elements. So the Artha which is being referred to is those 5 elements, not the products. Okay, the product. So the Artha, Indriyabhya Parahyartha means what? Greater than the mind are those tanmatras, from which the mind is constructed. Then from this the Indriyas are constructed, not mind, but the Indriyas are constructed. And then greater than the Indriyas is the mind. Mind is not coming from tanmatra, so mind is superior to this. And then superior to the mind is buddhi, because mind is what? What mind does? It throws propositions and dispositions, keeps on throwing out. And buddhi is the one which is stabilizing factor. It says, okay, let me do this, let me not do this. So that's slightly better. Buddhi is slightly better because it is able to discern the relevance, the facts, the utility, and then prohibit the mind from going left and then go to the right. It has the ability to steer the mind. For that also buddhi requires a training, but nevertheless this faculty is superior to an unleashed wild horse, which is the mind. A leashed one with the reins in the hand is, you can get more work done. That's better, rather than an unleashed horse.
So, mind is the product of tanmatra.
No, indriyas. Sorry, I said mind before, na? Indriyas are the product of the tanmatras. So indriyas are, so Krishna, that's why he says, see, there is a commonality between indriya and indriyartha. That is the Ibago ice cream. So know for sure that don't mix up yourself with that. Have the ice cream, you have to go through all that, but with the knowledge that with one single rope you are being pulled towards that.
So that is the final answer, Krishna, in response to Arjuna on Krodha and Kama.
Krodha and Kama.
So Kama, Krodha,
Yes.
then Indriya, then Tanmatra.
Yes, yes.
Tanmatra is the subtlest.
Subtlest for all these Prakriti's construction. And Prakriti's construction, mind is slightly seen differently. Buddhi directly from Mahat, and then Atma is the eternal soul, both for the Virat as well as for the individual. So there is a parallel construction of the individual as well as what you call is the macrocosmic world. There is a parallel construction. So finally, the final reminder comes in the Kama Rupa, whatever is the lust and the Krodha. If you can exercise control on that, then you become eligible for attaining the highest. Higher attaining means what? See, attaining is not something like you're going to catch a flight. I'm like looking at you guys through the spectacles, right? Suppose I forget that I'm wearing spectacles. So rimless glasses often gives you a feeling that you're not wearing glasses. Correct? And then you go, where did I keep my glass? You go on searching for it. And then oh, acha, it is here. Did you get it back? We didn't get it back. In fact, our entire search is happening with the help of the soul only. Without the soul, without the Atma, without that supreme energy within us, we can't even engage in the search. So we come to the point of reckoning that this particular, the living guy is there. I found the living guy. Nobody rented you. Nobody sold you that. It was always yours, ours. That's why they say, Shankaracharya brings out a very wonderful example. Dashamastvamasi. There were 10 guys who were taking an expedition, and then they came across a small rivulet which they can easily cross by swimming. So they decided to do so, swam across, and you know what happened, right? It's a very popular story. Even when I was a child, a boy student, I heard this. So they all reached the other shore, and then they wanted to know whether all of them have come or anyone has been swept away by the tide. So the one guy comes, and then he counts. He counts only 9. Where is the 10th fellow? So they say, no, you have not counted correctly. The other man takes the turn, and then he counts. He also counts only 9. And then they all start mourning the death of the 10th person, and then crying, suffering, anguish. They say, how will I go and explain to their father and mother and brother? And then time went by, and then there was a passerby. So the passerby was really moved by the pathos, and he asked, "What happened to you? What is it? Any calamity?" No, yes, we started the journey as 10. We are only 9 now. One guy got swept away by the tide. Then he took a quick survey, and then I understood what the problem was. He made all of them stand in a line, and then he take one cane, and then bet everyone's head. And then they counted the sound. There were 10 sounds. So this Dashamas Thomasi is a very one very interesting example, saying that we are searching for our own self, thinking that he is lost. Comes the end of the third chapter. It's about, I've taken 45 minutes. I still have 15 minutes to go.
Can you just explain this 43rd? Because there is a term self by the self.
Self by the self. Yes, yes. Yeah, that is actually Atma word. Let me chant the shloka what he refers to. 43rd. Evam buddhe param buddha. Having known. How you known? Samstabhya Atmana Atmanam Atman. Knowing yourself by yourself. Here, self will take two meanings. Atma will take two meanings. One Atma is your real self. The other Atma is the mind. How do we come with such interpretations? Is it an interpretation out of convenience? No. These are interpretations coming from Upanishads. So whenever such problems come, because see, Gita is a Smriti Shastra. Smriti Shastra, okay. So Smriti Shastra will have free use of language. So whenever there is a confusion, we actually go to the Shruti and see whether there is any correlation, and then we disambiguate certain overlapping interpretations. So here Atma word is used, not here. In 6th chapter, it is used in 6 senses. The very first shloka. So there he says, in Upanishads, there is a line that says, Manase naiva drashtavyam neha nanasti kinchana. Neha nanasti drashtavyam, you have to see something. What is? That Atma has to be seen. How will you see? Manasa. So through the mind it has to be seen. Neha, there is nothing else other than the Atma has to be known by the mind, seen by the mind, experienced by the mind, felt by the mind, and all these connotations come. So samstabhya atmanam atmana. So the second atmana means actually by the mind. By the mind self, the real self has to be seen. In a human being, there are many selves. There is a father self, there is a mother self. Means the moment you identify as a father, you are a father self. You identify yourself as a brother, you are a brother self. Correct? So when you identify with the mind, you are a mind self. So from the mind self, we have to see the unconditioned self. The mind is the closest that can go to the unconditioned self. No other identification can take you closer to the unconditioned self as much as, hey, just a minute, just a minute. You have, but you don't take, you are averse to sweets.
No, I love them.
You love them, then it's there. Oh, yeah, you take one and leave.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot to give that person. So Atmana, so through the mind, with the mind self, you experience the unconditioned self. And why mind self? Because we have to work with those instruments that we have. That's the only thing we can do. So you put the mind self to the best use possible, and that self actually comes to know the unconditioned self. How the knowledge comes, that and all is about philosophy, but it is the mind self which is knowing the unconditioned self. Now that takes us to the 4th chapter. I am fulfilling the promise for today. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavana vivasvan manave praha manurikshvakabe. See, the Krishna comes with a proclamation here saying that which I have given you, Arjuna, these things I have already spoken to your ancestors. Vivasvan is topmost guy. Then Vivasvan gave to Manu. Manu is yet another top guy. Manu gave to Ikshvaku. So this kind of a inheritance has happened to this kind of mind. This is not something which Krishna is not cooking it just because Arjuna wanted to have it. It's not a cooked up knowledge. This knowledge has a very penetrating ancestry, a very well-meaning and a penetrating ancestry. He says it. But what happened when a thing is given from one hand to another? We know, right? What happens? If it is a physical business product, its cost increases, right? But if it is a utility product, its utility reduces. So this is not a business product. Yoga is a utility product. So as and when, but why it reduces? It's very simple. The intensity with which it is given to the first person, that intensity, that sincerity, and that realization, it is very difficult to expect when it is given the second level. Though it is a fancy thing to talk of Erdos number. You know the Erdos number? Sir knows. Erdos number, I think you know it. Erdos number. Mathematician. You know Erdos number? See, Erdos is a mathematician. Far flung. Very, very popular, and those guys who did research with him, they call themselves Erdos 1. Okay. So they have published papers with Erdos as the co-author. So they are called Erdos 1. Those people who have published co-authoring with Erdos 1, they are called Erdos 2. So now Erdos is this is actually, in our orthodoxy, the so-called Brahmins, they refer to the ancestry in this manner. They refer to the, like for example, I've forgotten who is the top guy. Many are there. There are 3 branches are there. You can take any one of the branch, and then he and his disciple and his disciple. So they refer to 3 generations, and I come in that line. The person is instructed during the time of the threading ceremony that you come in the line which is led by A, followed by B, followed by C. So we do have that number in our practice, but these Erdos guys, they pride themselves saying that I am Erdos 3, Erdos 4 and all. But is Erdos 4 same as Erdos? This is what happens. See, Krishna gave to Vivaswan, Erdos 1. So that is Krishna 1. Vivaswan gave to Manu, that is Krishna 2. Manu gave to Ikshvaku, Krishna 3. So this parampara, 3, 4, 5, 6, the Krishna million or Krishna billion is now going on. It cannot have the same purity as what Krishna 1 had, or Krishna himself had. It cannot have that. No? So it is lost. Whenever there is a transfer, there is a reduction in the quality. But nevertheless, that one, the Krishna 0, that knowledge is what which I am giving you now, not the Krishna million. That which we are teaching currently, Erdos 5 will teach, not Erdos paper, he will teach some lesser things. But then Krishna says, even though it is Krishna million now, I am giving you Krishna 0. The same thing I am giving you. That's it gives us a lot of conviction and confidence, saying that there is no dilution in the knowledge that we have got in the body of Kirtan. 0 dilution. But then Arjuna has his own doubts. He says, well, I'm looking at you right now here in flesh and bones. And you say that you have a different life, and then you spoke to such and such people. These seems to be very fascinating, but not keeping with reality. How do I understand this? Then Krishna comes and reveals his own personality. He says that, you see, we all had births before and after, but I know all the births that I have had before. And then verse 6 is very interesting. Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutana ishvaropi san Prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma maya. So Krishna is actually revealing his glorious advent. He says, I have come by controlling my own prakriti, my own maya. We are born. We are also born. But not by controlling the maya, but helplessly thrown out to this world, thrown into this world, helplessly, to only fulfill the so-called long-standing purpose of our existence. But Sri Krishna is not pushed into the world. He says, I have come up with my own discretion. And how do I do that? See, with gold, if you want to make an ornament, you'll have to mix a little bit of copper. Then that ornament becomes very stable. Otherwise the metal will be extremely soft. In order to make, metallurgy guy is here, so I should stop with this. I shouldn't do any further. But what about its conductivity, sir?
It
Reduces conductivity, right? As gold, it is better. It's much better.
Now the strength, yes, as you said, it's
Adding copper, but other nice properties are lost.
yes, but for the ornamental purposes,
That is necessary. Correct. So he says, I mix that kind of a copper within me and then produce myself in the human frame. And the famous shloka, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, only an avatara can proclaim this. So Sri Krishna must be taking a lot of delight in, remembering his glorious self. Says that whenever there is a decline in the propriety and orderliness, then it is that is the responsibility he puts on his own self. That little responsibility he takes, and I come to establish the orderliness. And when I am doing that, the people who have been responsible for the disorder, creating the disorder, I see to it that they get my peace of mind. Right? Giving you a peace of mind means they'll be shown the gallows. Vinashaya cha dushkrita. And then there are people who have suffered because of these dushkritas, who really wanted to grow, and then who really opposed all these evil forces with their own little might. By not obliging with the evil itself is a fight against the evil. You don't have to do anything extra. Not merely not getting obligated itself is a mark of grandeur. Like Ramananda Ray, who was a landlord in Kamarpukur, one Deregram. Deregram is the village in West Bengal, and Ramananda Ray was the landlord. He forced Sri Ramakrishna's father, Khudiram Chattopadhyaya, to give false witness because he got messed up, and all the evidences are squarely pointing against him. And the only way he can bail himself out is take the hold of Khudiram. Khudiram, if he comes and says, no, this guy is sinless, then the panchayat is ready to not forgive, to leave Ramananda. But then Khudiram was just a peasant. He was a humble peasant in that village. And then he had a little dwelling, and then he lived by agriculture, with the help of agriculture. And then landlord comes and says, will you give? He says, no. But then, no, you must give. Tomorrow is going to be the last hearing day. And then I'll wait for it. I'll give you one full night time. But the next day came. He was called to the panchayat. And then he stood ground. Khudiram did not budge. He did not get obligated to the call of the evil, in spite of he being a mere peasant. And landlord, their powers, right? Their zamindaris are, it has become to call oneself a zamindari is now a stigma. To call oneself a zamindari is a stigma now, because of all the evil things that they have done in the past. You may say you call yourself rich. Zamindari word, if you use, you are gone. It has got so much wrong connotation. So, such was Ramananda Ray in flesh and spirit. But he stood ground. But his life became very miserable subsequently. The very same evening, his house was plundered. All his little earnings they were robbed off, and then he and his family, maybe 3 children, all children, young children, with his wife, they were all driven out of the village. They were driven out. He would have said one line, just one line. He knew the consequence. Ramananda Ray is so known for his notoriety. And Panchayat people were happy that they have pinned Ramananda down. And they helped him to pin him, but he took all his anger against this sparrow of a living being and then drove them away. And then they became mythical. But truth is something that cannot be compromised for these little bit of pecuniary calls. That is not getting obligated to the call of the evil. That's what. He didn't fight against it. Did he check Ramananda Ray? No. Ramananda Ray had his full sway of his power. Couldn't check it. But then I will not side by that. He stood ground, and out of him came Sri Ramakrishna. See, Sri Ramakrishna, being an avatara considered so, will not come for a very ordinary person. He will come to only sterling people with sterling qualities. So if we really want to populate this planet with angelic character, then the only way to do that is we have to convert ourselves into good human beings. Good and meaningful and character-worthy human beings. Another 1 minute. And then he says, Paritrana sadhuna, then Janma karma chime divyam. See, Krishna is doing a lot of drum beating now. I love this chapter much, very much. He says, see, my birth and my actions, they're all divine by nature. Anybody who puts his mind, thinks about this, contemplates about this. My birth, my means Krishna's birth and Krishna's activity, Leela. That is why they call Leela Chintanana among the Bhaktas. Leela Chintanam is a very, 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 very supportive sadhana practice to still the mind. Because the Leela Chintana, Krishna going, running, doing something, and then playing with here and doing something, even riding the horse, instructing Arjuna, and then debating with whichever platform you put Krishna and engage yourself, what is called as the guided tour with Arjuna, with Krishna, you will find yourself more in the thought of Krishna, more, I won't say enjoying, but it will be more educating. It will be more educating because he is a very highly evolved personality. And he is a repository of all goodness. That is the definition of Krishna. If you put anything bad into it, then it will become lesser of Krishna. So Krishna is a repository of all the goodness. So when such a person rules supreme in your mind through this guided meditation, Leela Chintanam as they call it, if you are feeling bored and then you want to say while away a little bit of time, you can do this Leela Chintana rather than doing some reel. So reels are actually doing some guided enjoyment, right? Guided dopamine release. We can have this dopamine release in the thought of journey with Krishna. Achha, he's going there, he's doing this. That will be so much arresting, much more than the reels. Much more than the reels. And after you watch a long series of reels, you feel tired. Because you are bombarded with so much of information. But after this guided meditation with Krishna, so even 10 minutes or half an hour for that matter, you will feel fully charged up. Fully charged up. And a lot of energy because of the character. Because wherever you put your mind is going to inherit those qualities. Those guys who look at the ditch will call India dirty. But if you put it in people, if you put it in personalities, if you put it in the fantastic character qualities of the person, you will see that the India is peopled with angels. Are you worried about the place? Or are you interested about the people? You see the people. I'm not saying this. In fact, Swami Vivekananda says this. He says the poor in the West are devils compared to the angels in the East. Because poor in the poverty goes along with violence in West. Because of circumstances. It's nothing about human character. Because the living conditions are so tough. Extreme weather conditions. So you have to be resilient against all this, and then you're poor. What will happen to you? You'll go plunder. That's the only way you can sustain. But in the East, he says that compared to them, the poor in the East are angels. Very true. So if you put the mind on the people, our mind gets better. If you put it on the place may be dirty. But which is, on contrast, want to take a quick look. I would rather try to look at the person. That's the reason why, I rarely take a pilgrimage. Because I don't want to see places. I want to see persons. I have taken a few pilgrimages to see persons. And every time I have gone and seen those persons, I have come back a lot wiser and a lot stronger. And a lot abler. That's the reason why we go to universities, we go to colleges, we go see the HOD, we see the researchers, discuss with them. Persons matter for us, not the place. But if you look at the place and say, hey, dirty place, we know what you are looking at. You are not looking at your own growth. It's the persons whom we are supposed to be interested in. So he says, I will finish with this ninth shloka. So Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam here says, beautiful shloka. In fact, this one particular shloka gives us a lot of hope for us. See, a person says, I don't know philosophy. See, I have not had that pedigree which you guys have had. You went to good schools, you went to good colleges, and you had wonderful people around you. You had resources, you had support. But I did not have anything. I had to find myself through a lot of turmoils and difficulties. And then who is there to guide me? Wait. Okay, I've heard enough of your crying. You want a one-line answer? Read Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Janma karma cha me divyam. Put your mind on that Krishna. He is the common property for all of us. He will compensate all the shortcomings that we have ever had in our life. Every shortcoming can be fulfilled by that one person, Krishna. Janma karma cha me divyam. Evam yo veti tattvataha, in reality. Evam nyatva vijasamyak. No, what is the concluding line? Evam yo veti tattvataha tektva deham punarjanma naiti mamiti sorjana. So at the time of death, a person leaves the body thinking about me, he will come and attain me only. I mean, he is relieved of all the bondages. Krishna is such a personality. So far he was philosophical, and then because it was Arjuna who made Krishna say all these things, because he questioned about his own birth. You seem to be talking about the scions of the past, but I see you now. How do you relate? How do I accept you? Then Sri Krishna unveiled himself through these few verses. Janma karma cha me divyam. Divyam means divine. Divine in the sense of both in its origin as well as in its purpose. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.